Hey everybody, it's Trags alongside CLNS media colleague Alex Barth inside Gillette Stadium. Free agency, specifically free agency throughout the first week of the NFL season. Bill Belichick has always cautioned us, Alex Barth, that the roster is ever evolving, especially in the first full week of the season. Who are some of the names that we could look at out there in free agency that could join the Patriots? Somebody maybe we're thinking of, maybe not.
I think you have to start at wide receiver if you're going to look at the list of names. A guy I really like is Brashad Perryman, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. He was a first-round pick a couple of years ago, dealt with a lot of injuries, never really got the potential that people saw in him, and then, of course, some lackluster quarterback play the last couple of years, but they released him on Saturday. He has hit the open market. He's a guy Bill Belichick had interest in. Initially, the reports were in the draft. He's a very similar player, actually, to Cordero Patterson in that his game is predicated on speed and elusiveness. He plays, his size is bigger than you would expect from somebody who plays his style, and he can contribute on special teams. The Patriots are familiar with him, pretty much playing the Ravens yearly over the last couple of years. Whether he was active or not, they have the tape on him when he has played. So Perryman is a guy that stands out for me that the Patriots could perhaps take a flyer on. He fits the mold, former first-round pick, a lot of injuries in his career, wasn't really used right in the system, got beat out by other names with the Ravens signing guys like Macklin and Crabtree over the last couple of years. But there is talent there if he can stay healthy, if he can get in the right system. I could see him fitting in well in New England, and then the combination, hypothetically, of a formation with Patterson, indoor set, and then you add Perryman into that. That's a lot of speed on the field. That is going to be very tough to defend. And there's already almost a role built in to this offense for him. He could do a lot of the things that Brandon Cooks did last year. He's not as good of a player, but he has that similar skill set, and they could go back to some of that stuff they did with Cooks and reinstall it perhaps for Perryman.
Okay, I had a chance to ask Bill Belichick on Friday before the 53-man cut down on Saturday how you roster build. And a lot of teams have different philosophies. Some it's the best 53 players. Some teams it's matching positions to personnel and needs specifically, and some teams it's a hybrid. Well, with Bill Belichick, I think it's more a hybrid, but keeping the best 53 players on the roster. But that's before cutdown day. Now, past cutdown day, are there any positions you see on the Patriots roster, groupings, if you will, Alex, where you think a free agent could come in and maybe contribute right away?
Wide receiver is a big one. I think adding a wide receiver would be huge. They only have 3 on the depth chart. We've talked about that, and that's going to be talked about a lot leading up to the game against Houston. I think corner is a spot where they could perhaps add even a hybrid corner safety. I know there were a couple of guys who got cut over the last couple of days that Belichick could be interested in, and maybe adding another defensive back even early for those first 4 games while Jason McCourty learns the position, and then maybe that's the guy who gets cut loose when Julian Edelman comes back. I also don't think they're done at quarterback. Brian Hoyer, somewhat surprisingly, did not have a great preseason. He did not look good. Is this team still a Super Bowl favorite without Tom Brady? Probably not.
No. But
you look at what they did when he got hurt in 08, that was still a very competitive team. They had, at the time, the best record of any NFL team to not make the playoffs in the modern era. There is ways they could upgrade at quarterback. Probably has to be through trade. Not sure if it can be picking up a guy who got cut. The name who stands out to me is Connor Cook from Oakland, former Michigan State quarterback. Struggled at times filling in for Derek Carr, but he has shown flashes. The other guy, if they're going to look to upgrade a quarterback, I like is Taysom Hill in New Orleans. Obviously, they traded for Teddy Bridgewater. They also have Tom Savage on the roster, so Hill right now is the 4th-string quarterback. What makes Taysom Hill unique? He's also a gunner. He can play special teams. And if you're going to tell me Bill Belichick doesn't want his backup quarterback out there covering kicks, you don't know how Bill Belichick operates. So he's not a bad quarterback either. He put up some impressive numbers at BYU. Was supposed to be a day 2 draft pick until injuries his last 2 years in college. That obviously hurt his stock, and he's still overcoming those. But a mobile quarterback with some size is a guy that Josh McDaniels has worked with in the past, the Tim Tebow's. He has experience with that kind of quarterback. And then, again, the ability to play special teams as well. I could see them potentially looking to upgrade over Brian Hoyer.
A lot of Patriots fans lost their minds on Twitter and other places when Khalil Mack was traded to the Chicago Bears from the Oakland Raiders.
That was never going to happen.
It was never going to happen for a multitude of reasons. 2 first-round picks that the Patriots would give up. I may or may not have done the trade just on that alone. But then you take a look at the $150 million that he signed for, that he extended for in Chicago. And those are 2
Chicago Bears draft picks, which will probably be 15 to 20 spots higher than the Patriots picks. You're probably looking at 3 or 4th round picks, 3 or 4 first-round picks if the Patriots try to make that trade.
So, and the reason I bring that up,
Yeah.
Alex's linebacker position is certainly a situation in New England on defense where covering a backer or a running back out of the backfield is something of concern. It's something that was obviously exposed in the Super Bowl against Philadelphia, and there were moments in the preseason where it was exposed again against the Patriots' first-team defense, linebackers.
Well, that's why I was a little surprised Marquise Flowers was left off this
too.
roster. He can do all of that. He can pass rush. He can cover. He can play special teams. So is he coming back, or do they go out and do they get another guy like him? Indianapolis released Paul Sermon. He's an outstanding player, primarily a pass rusher. He can cover a little bit. May see the Patriots make a call there. Josh Keys was a borderline roster guy for Houston. He can play linebacker. He can play safety, too. He's kind of that sort of tweener player. Nobody's really sure what position he is, but he can cover. He's a good third down option, a good third down box option to have. I'm sure if Bill Belichick calls his old friend Bill O'Brien, he can give him some insight on him. Josh Keys is a name to maybe keep an eye on.
Except week one.
And right, after week one, but he's a guy. Keys is a guy like we talked about before with them maybe adding somebody in the secondary. Keys maybe kills two birds with one stone. He can play a little linebacker. He can play a little safety. He can cover. He can play special teams. He can get after the quarterback. Not a huge name, but when does Belichick ever go after the huge name at this point in the season?
Always important to keep in mind, Patriots fans. The initial roster is set for the Patriots in 2018, but it is always in flux around Foxboro.